Hey ladies, the question was asked, what do we do about Easter? There is a good chance we are going to be home this year for Easter. You may get creative and you may visit your family in the driveway. We have joked about that in our family. Who knows? We don't know. But how do we use this time at home to grow in our faith with our kids? I think that's the big question for all of us. We want to make sure that they know that it's more than just Easter eggs and Easter bunnies. Even if you don't do those things, they're gonna see those things everywhere. Um, we do a little bit of that, but our main focus is the real reason, and that is Jesus' death and resurrection for our sins. So take this for what it's worth. We've been doing this for a lot of years. So we started with little things and then eventually added more as our kids got older. I have 4 kids, and they are 8, 6, 3, and 1. So the 3 and 1-year-old, they'll get bits and pieces. The 6-year-old, he is asking some good questions. I'm going to tell you more about him later. But the 8-year-old, she's got this. She is asking really good questions and reading her Bible, and I want to keep continuing to encourage growth in her. And so I'm going to show you what we have done over the years. And again, start small, baby steps. If you've got a 2-year-old, please don't do all of this. You will get overwhelmed. So just start with the little things, and we'll talk about that as we go. There's going to be things in the comments for you, and I will tell you those when they come up, printables and different things like that. But take notes. I don't know what you're going to take from this, hopefully at least a little bit. Don't feel like you have to do all of this. I'm going to tell you that a lot. The internet is crazy right now with so many resources, which is good, but it can be really overwhelming. I have decided that this is it for our family. Maybe for years, I don't know, until I find something that's better, or that I feel like we need to add for our children as they grow up. But right now, this has been what we've done for a couple years, and it's what we're going to do this year and probably another year or so. So you don't have to keep changing things. Kids love routine. They love the security of knowing what's going to come, and expecting things. So whatever you start, they're going to expect it. So be really careful and prayerful about what you start. You definitely don't want to overwhelm yourself or your kids. So how do we do Easter at home? Well, first, it's not just a one-day event. Consider it as an Advent. I actually wrote down what Advent means because it is important. We do this for Christmas. We make a big deal out of the days leading up to Christmas and those weeks leading up to Christmas. Advent actually means preparation for a notable event or person. So that's right now. I don't know of another time that's more notable than this besides Christmas. But without this day, this time of year, none of it matters. So this is a big deal. Make it a big deal in your family. Have fun with it. So anyways, we're going to get started on a little bit of what we do. We like to do Holy Week, which is the week leading up to Easter. It starts with Palm Sunday, if you're not familiar. We homeschool, so one thing I like to do is we do spring break either before Holy Week or after Holy Week. It kind of just depends on how it falls. But we do school during Holy Week because I make our school all about Easter. Why not? I have the chance. You have the chance this year, no matter what your school situation is. So let's dig in. So first thing I'm going to show you is this little thing. We call it our Easter map. It's on a little turntable. In the comments, you are going to see, I'm going to give you this. It is a timeline of Holy Week. And you're also going to see these little squares because it just makes life easier if you want to do this. So you start on the green square. So that is for Palm Sunday. And here, and again, you'll see it better in the timeline, but I have noted what we're going to focus on because there is a huge timeline. I even added one. But all the dots are the places that we're going to focus on when we go through this map. And I have noted, I'll take a picture of this and show it to you in the comments because you surely can't see it here. But I have noted where we're going to read these stories from. So it takes 3 Bibles to find all the stories if you're reading children's Bibles. So I've got some of them from this Bible. This is the little kids' Bible that I grew up with that our early readers all start with. And then you, of course, have the Jesus Storybook Bible, which is fantastic. If you don't have this is a great one. Sometimes the stories are a little long, so I will sometimes save these for my older kids and do these with the littles. It just kind of depends on the day because neither one of them have all the stories in them. And so there are a couple on here that we're going to read straight from Scripture because I want them to hear Scripture. And they're not in the children's Bibles. So I will give y'all this. I have added in Jesus anointed because we assume that's what day that happened on the Wednesday before Easter. So we have added that in. But what we do is we start with our little map. And so on Sunday, on Palm Sunday, we're going to read about Jesus. Here's our little guy, Daddy's old toy that we drew a beard on. Jesus coming in on his donkey. I have a donkey. I forgot to get him. We used the Little People donkey from the Little People Nativity. He has a little blanket on him and all that stuff, so I've got to dig him out. But we will read the story and we will leave Jesus there all day. We have this candle that we will light during meals. My daughter decorated it a couple years ago. She's got the Trinity and hearts, and she was just learning about some of the symbols of Christianity. And again, she was 6 or 7 maybe when she did that, so that was something she wanted to do. She read it about a craft in a book, and she did it, and we've been using it ever since. So take your cues from your kids. They will create their own crafts. You don't always have to do it for them. Anyways, okay, so Palm Sunday, we'll have a donkey here and Jesus, and then on Monday we will move him. And let's see, on Monday on here we have Jesus cleansing the temple. So we made this little temple. It has seen better days. You may do better. You could build something out of Legos or whatever, but Jesus goes right in there, and he will spend the day not falling over. He will spend the day right there in the temple. But we leave the palm branches up because by the end of the week, the kids will be able to turn this thing and tell you the whole story, and it's really cool. So Jesus cleanses the temple, and then on Tuesday, he's going to come right over here. And on Tuesday is when you've got the widow's mite. So you read the story about her 2 coins. And so you leave those there, and the kids will be able to tell you all about that and what it means, why it's important. So that's an important story that we don't want to skip. And then the next one is when he is anointed with the lady's hair. This is not Mary. This is when just another unnamed woman anoints him. And it's we believe Holy Week, right before he is to be crucified. So he is anointed, and Judas gets angry, and that's when Judas runs off and accepts his 30 coins. Can y'all see that? There we go. So little bottle of oil. I put lavender in it just because the kids like to smell it, like 2 drops, and it's enough for them to get a whiff of the perfume that he was anointed with. And so then on Thursday, we've got Passover. So here's when things get real familiar with your kids. So you've got this little table. We made it out of paper, cut out a little thing. So the basics of this was created a couple years ago when this group was called MOPS. And we did a little craft. Everything folds up into this tiny little box. It's cool. Everything fits in there. And we have added to it over the years. But this is stuff that you can just kind of start gathering and creating, and you can get your child to draw a picture of a feast on a little table. It's not hard. So you just have Jesus there. And I will say, if your kids are, we're going to say 3 or under, focus on just the big things right now. They don't need to see all of this. It will just confuse them. They might like a little Jesus. They might like a candle just because it feels special. But they need to know that God created the world, that Jesus loves the little children, that Jesus died for them, and that they will go to heaven. That's all they need to know. Right now, just slowly build those things. So this is for probably 4+ that you want to start adding in these things if you want to. Remember, none of this is a have to, okay? I'm just sharing with you what we do. So we've got the Passover, and then Jesus washes the disciples' feet, just a little piece of cloth. Another just great thing to discuss with your kids and why that's so important. Okay, let's see. So then the next thing is when they go to the garden. So you will read about going to the garden and praying, and that's when he is betrayed and he is arrested. And then at the end of that, he is given a crown of thorns. We just have some rough string right there. We laid on his head, and then a thorn. If you can find, let me see if you can see that. There we go. If you can find a really big one, I don't know where this came from. This was given to us when we made these little boxes. But I let them all kind of poke around on it because this is something, I mean, that's huge. So let them have that. They like to come back, and you'll see them. This is not going to stay on. You'll see them just randomly stop by the table and just kind of feel on it, and they're just learning, like, this is a big deal. It's not just the pretty story we've been told forever. So we need to know that it's a big deal. So then we've got Good Friday, and explain why it's good. It doesn't seem good. So that is when we'll leave a little crown there. You will use this little box or something like it. We used a little jewelry box, and you can set it up right there. Let me see if you can see that. And you put Jesus in front of it. And then we often like to read the part about when they cast lots. So there's the little die for that. And he sits there all day, and it's pretty terrible to see. It's pretty terrible even for this tiny little toy to just sit there like that. And what I wanted to tell you about my son, so he's 6, and when he was 5 last year, we had this sitting on the table. You know, we had done almost the full week, and we get to this point, and then Jesus goes missing. So we don't know where he's gone. And it actually took us a few weeks to figure out the full story because he reappeared. He came back to the table. He was there by dinner time. And but we found out months later that was the day that our little boy gave his heart to Jesus. He saw this. He saw this simple thing. He saw what we had been doing all week. He tucked that away in his little heart, and he took Jesus, and he went and had a conversation with him, his first real prayer, and that was when he gave his heart to the Lord on Good Friday last year. So that's really cool. Makes me cry. Sorry. Okay, so he sits there all day, but at the end of the day, here's what we do. We take this. We have this little piece of cloth, and he gets wrapped up. And you can let the kids do this. On the inside of the lid, there's a little cutout of a stone. So then it's placed like this, and it's set right there. And so again, he's there all night, and we wait, and we wait, and we wait. And then, that is when, let me put this right here, we get to celebrate that he is risen. So we let him sit there. There's not actually another square for that. I'm going to mess it all up. We just let him sit there, and then we read the stories on Sunday. Just leave it right there. We read the stories on Sunday about him rising, and all of a sudden, this tomb is empty. The stone has rolled away. The kids love to roll the stone away and unwrap him and everything. And so it's just a really hands-on, very visual thing, and that they will keep coming back to day after day. My kids got excited when I was pulling this out to show you. So it's a big part of their world, and they can tell you the story after seeing it over and over and seeing these pieces. So that's the first thing I'm going to tell you about, is our Holy Week map is what we call it. And I will give you that timeline in the comments, okay? Let's see if I can move this without knocking too much over. So your next thing, we love storybooks. These are just ones we've collected. I'm not saying you have to read these, but get you some little board books. We have Easter Bunny ones, eggs, all the things. Don't get rid of these when you think your kids get too big, because they value these books. They remember them. They want to teach them to their little siblings. So don't think they're too old. They can keep reading board books for a really long time. So get them in all stages. Let's see, here is some other ones for a little bigger kids. We love this one, God Gave Us Easter. If you don't have this one, this may be one to purchase. If you don't want to purchase it, I can probably guarantee that there's someone on YouTube that has read this, and you can watch a video of it and show it to your kids. It's a good one. And so you've got little versions of, this matches the Bible I showed you earlier, but they've kind of put several stories into one. You've got more Easter ones. We love Curious George and Berenstain Bears. Going on an Egg Hunt, always a favorite. It's a play off of Going on a Bear Hunt, if you're familiar. And if you don't have any Easter books, that's fine. Again, watch YouTube videos, but then shop your library for just spring books. These are good fillers. You've got flowers blooming, you've got bunny rabbits, you've got all the baby chicks. So just go around and find some and just make it a sweet time of just reading and storytelling together. And so when your kids get a little bit bigger, there are so many good ones. These are just the ones we've acquired. We really like Benjamin's box. It is kind of like our map. He just collects things and different pieces of the story. There's another one that we always get from the library called Easter in the Garden. And we used it. We studied that for 2 weeks. I believe last year, maybe the year before. But Easter in the Garden, it's a really good one. Told from the perspective of a little boy, just like Benjamin's box. And this one came out last year, I believe. Or at least that's when we all started hearing about it. I think it came out last year. And it is a good overview of just how all of the stories tie together from beginning to the end of the Bible, or to when Jesus died on the cross, and how everything is for a purpose, and it all works together, and God has a plan, and none of it's an accident. Again, this is like 4+. Don't try to teach this kind of theology to a 2 or 3-year-old. They're just not going to get it. And it's okay to have those conversations, but just keep it simple. They will get it when they get it, and that is something as a educator, that's weird to say, but as a homeschool mom, if I have learned even a little bit in these last couple of years, we're about to finish our 3rd year of homeschooling plus preschool, if you want to count those couple of years before that, is that you want your kids to explore. You don't want to explain everything to them. We have been asking our daughter the same question every week, almost every Friday is kind of my goal, for almost 2 years now, and she finally got the answer right month ago maybe, and I've been asking it to her little brother for a couple months now, and so now it's like she has this understanding. She finally got it right, and then when I ask him and he's like, I don't know, or gives me some off the wall answer, she gets this little gleam in her eye because she knows, her heart figured it out. Her and God talked about it, and she now knows the answer. So it's better to let them explore and don't try to explain everything. If they have a question, absolutely explain things. But I don't know about you, but my tendency is to read this or a type of book like this and see some symbolism or different things like that and be like, okay, let's put the book away and let's talk theology for a second. And then they just straight over their head because they're just exploring, and we need to let them explore, and it's way more fun for them to discover the answers than to just be drilled. So explore, discover, not drill and explain. The question I ask our daughter all the time that she finally got the answer to was, who is the biggest sinner? And she, like expected, gave all sorts of answers. Adam and Eve, Satan, Judas. I mean, it just depends on who we were talking about at the time. And a couple months ago, she finally said, me? Am I the biggest sinner? And oh, y'all, it was a big deal. That is a great step in her faith. And so again, her little brother has accepted Jesus, but he's 6 and he still has a whole lot of growing to do. But that's just one thing we've decided in our family, that we're going to keep asking that question, who's the biggest sinner? And right now he's given all those answers. Adam and Eve, I don't know. And so he'll get it, but we don't want to take that from him and just give him the right answer, because then it's just, well, Mom told me, we'll move on. But to let him figure it out and pray to God about it and discover it, it's going to be a little deeper ingrained in him. So this is what we're studying right now. It's Amon's Adventure, Big Kids. My 6-year-old is a little tender-hearted, and he has gotten angry a few times. He has gotten real sad a few times, which I am okay with. Excuse me, my phone's dying, of course. But I would not do this younger than 6, because there's things in here that I've kind of had to self-edit as I've read. This is for big kids, but oh, it is cool. And it's not too late to get yours. We're only a few chapters in, but at the end of each chapter, there is a verse, and there are questions, kind of based on the idea of Lent and why this season of Advent, if you will, season of Lent is important. And then once we get to the end, there is a chapter for every day of Holy Week. And so it's really cool, again, for big kids. But we have enjoyed that a lot. We like to celebrate Passover on Thursday. We are not Jewish, we are not Catholic, but we do a lot of this stuff because we just love it and we love what it teaches our family and just the depth that it adds to our walk. And so our Passover meal is very simple. I made a quick little list. So we're going to drink some grape juice. We're going to have some flatbread. I've already got some in the freezer. We will eat olives and grapes, and we will have fish and baked veggies. Simple. We don't go to the full Jewish custom because I don't know how to make those things. So I tried to keep it very simple, but it's just a special time, and the kids really like knowing that they're doing something that's in the Bible, something that Jesus did, they're doing right now. And so it's just a neat time. Start simply. Maybe just start and have grape juice for dinner and surprise your kids when they're like, okay, where's the water? Where's the milk? And say, well, here's why we're drinking grape juice. Talk about the Passover. One little thing is all you have to do to make a big impact this year. So again, keep it small and keep it simple. Another one we like, these are just little prayers, really woolly. We have their little Christmas book too. But they're just little things that are like good to read after breakfast or good to read after dinner or something like that, or a bedtime story. They're real short little prayers. And then I like this book for me. I have read it several times, and it just solidifies my faith year after year after year. He goes through just why we can't argue with this, and he gives details of the crucifixion, and it's just amazing. I love it. I learn so much more every year. And so last couple things, these will be in the comments. An Easter nature walk and scavenger hunt. So this is something that you could do maybe on Good Friday or on Saturday during that waiting period, waiting for Easter. So you've got things to find and then what they mean, so, or what they represent. So something sharp, Jesus's pain. And so you can just go through each one. Something light in color, Jesus is the light of the world. This can be done for any age, and just get out in nature and enjoy your time together. And then this is the last thing. We did this a couple of years ago as a group, and we loved it. We did a prayer walk. We did a Stations of the Cross prayer walk around the church, and we went through each one of these. But I'm going to give you this printable, and I would say this is for you or a child that can read, just to start on Friday, maybe, and just go through all of them and color them. We know we like to color. Color and read these passages together if you have an older child, or use this as part of your devotional. And then at the end, you're going to have a pretty cool piece of art that explains the whole thing all in one. So again, we will have that in the comments. And so you can download that and do with it what you will. I hope this is somewhat encouraging and gives you a few ideas for what you can do with your family for Easter. As always, ask questions. If you have a resource that your family has loved, then please, please, please share it with us. We have a whole lot to share with you this morning, and this is a big chunk of it. But this is not it. This is what my family does, and we may do things completely different than your family, and that's okay. So find what works for you, and then share. Let's talk about it. Let's all learn from each other. And so, again, ask questions, share what you know, and we would love to just keep this conversation going. Talk to you later.